Happy Thursday and welcome to the Wolff Den, sponsored by Win Again Academy. I am Matt Wolff, Ticket Time Machine CEO and founder. Today we have Ira Miller of Zone Capital Partners. Ira, welcome to the Wolff Den. How are you today?
I'm great, Matt. How are you?
Great. So I mentioned Win Again Academy. They're the sponsor for today's show, which is it makes sense today because you and I met at a Win Again Academy event. Just tell everyone a little bit about Win Again Academy and what they're doing. Mark Moyer has a great thing going. He has these networking events where he brings some ex-athletes on to talk about, their history and also talk about relevant topics for what they're doing now. And so it's a great event. I think there's another one tonight that I'll be at. That's where I met you, Ira. So great to have you here. We're going to hit on a bunch of things, but let's start with Zone Capital Partners and what you guys are working on.
Right. So Zone Capital Partners is a leading edge consulting firm that works in the middle markets. That would be anything from a $50 million company to a $250 million company, primarily technology, to help them get listed on a major exchange like the NASDAQ or the New York. That the form of listing can either be a direct listing. A prominent example of that would be Spotify, which is a $66 billion company now, or a SPAC, which are in vogue. DraftKings, which relates to sports, is a $22 billion positive example of a SPAC. It's up 444% since going public.
Is that good?
I think it's good, but it's tantamount to a reverse merger, and so you have to be very careful about getting involved because it's a blind pool, it's a blank check, and then company that's being merged with another company, and then it's IPO, Matt. So that's how that works.
Yeah.
So you're betting the track record of the players that are involved, but you're doing that with other companies.
But you're also doing a futures, right? I mean, we look at someone like Hopin, and they bought StreamYard, and they had a valuation of like $2 billion. They only been around for like a year and change. So you're kind of like doing on the futures as well, or?
Yeah, you're always betting on the futures. I mean, if the ultimate example of that would be Coinbase, right? I mean, I don't think that's a direct list. That's a direct listing. It's got a $77 billion valuation, probably coming public in early March. And I doubt if the mathematics hold that up at this point. So, we'll see with that one.
It's like monopoly money, though. I mean, 70 billion, right? You just mentioned at the start of the show, mid-level is 250 million.
It's not my favorite, between you and I, that's not my favorite flavor, only because, it's going to be value. This market's going at some point to come in, has to, right? So, there's two famous players out there. Jeremy Siegel of Wharton, who's at Wharton on the markets, he's a mega bear, right? So, I wonder what his wife thinks about him. Every day he's grumpy, probably, right? It's going down. Things are going down. I'm worried. But eventually he's going to be right. Yeah. And there's been so much stimulus money put into the market, okay, that, people are having a field day. You have companies that are IPOing, that are reaching multi-billion-dollar valuations, and one of the things about direct listings and SPACs that are favorable versus an IPO is the pricing inequality there. Because I mean, you have a company like Airbnb, it loses money, right? And it's up 13% on day one. And so, the VCs made money, but, it remains to be seen long term what the investors do.
What's the risk? I mean, what's a horror story on a?
There's a risk in all of these. Anytime you buy equity in anything, there's risk. So you're betting management, you're betting sector.
It feels like they all skyrocket right from the start, or at least have a jump.
Well, the direct listings last year, in October, you had Palantir and Asana coming out at the same time. Palantir is a big data company. It did well, and then came in. You have Spotify, which was one of the original direct listings, $66 billion company now. So, that's done quite well. And a SPAC is nothing more than a glorified reverse merger, right? So back in the day, everybody shied away from reverse mergers, although they're all pump and dumps. They don't work. So again, it's sector driven, it's management driven. So we were involved. We took our time, and we got involved with this company called Amedisys down in Baton Rouge, Louisiana, which is a long way from my native state of New York, right? So Amedisys goes public through a reverse merger. It became one of the first in-home healthcare companies. They just added a hospice company this year. It's a $10 billion company. So, I would say I've kept records over the years. It's a 1 in 12 bet, period. But you're doing your homework.
That's on the plus side of 1 in 12?
That's the bet, period, on these companies. That they're going, to
that's skyrocketing.
Outperform the market.
Okay.
Right. So especially SPACs, you have to be very.
Yep. I don't know if we froze here.
Careful, but there we go. So if you don't like the company that they choose, goes back in trust.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm fascinated by this stuff because people are crazy.
Give you some numbers. I mean, SPAC accounted for the offerings last year. 247 were done. Okay, 83 billion went into that market. This year already, 130 have been completed, with about 50 billion. So there's a race to that type of vehicle because it's easy to put together. Now, what's going to ultimately happen is not all these SPACs are going to get done, which bodes well for Zone Capital, because as things get closer to reality, the hardest part of our job, whether it's a direct listing or any kind of consulting, is explaining to a prospective CEO, here's your valuation, because we want all to do well, right? So it needs to be, just because you did your last round at $240 million, you don't uptick to 10 billion. It doesn't work like that in the real world. Just because you saw one or two flashes out there. So you have a fiduciary responsibility as a consultant in building these companies to have that conversation. And if they don't understand that, then you have to walk away. So,
how did you get into all? Let's just talk about your background. How did you even get into all this? Were you a finance guy growing up, and then you moved into the?
So I grew up. So my father out of Yale University was a partner with Arthur Cowan. So I grew up in Long Island. My father prepped at Woodmere Academy. They went to Yale. And Arthur Cowan used to come over to my house. So I knew I wasn't going to, there's a couple things I couldn't do. Loved to have played, baseball. My son actually was much better than I was. But this is something I grew up with and came from a family of entrepreneurs. My great grandfather started a business in New York called Ira Miller Shoes, which was bought by Genesco. It was branded. This is before social media met. By Andy Warhol. That's his first sketchings were of my family shoes.
Oh, wow.
And it's a landmark building on 46th and Broadway. And
I'm sure I walked past it many times then.
It's a cool thing.
Yeah.
Cool thing. So the nice thing about being an entrepreneur is, you get to pick and choose sectors. We've done well in the commodity sector, which looks to be coming back. Silver looks to be coming back. But we really like technology because the world likes technology.
Yeah, especially now, things are moving at a speed of light in technology. We got a couple questions here for you, and thanks everyone for tuning in. We got Ira Miller of Zone Capital Partners here on the Wolff Den, sponsored by Win Again Academy. I can't see who is writing, so we had Leo from London join. Thanks for joining, Leo. Hello from NYC. No name here. I'm not sure if that's the same one as the question, but we got a question for you here. Would the investor look for the best quality stocks when it comes to SPACs? In that regard, the majority would not have the same outcome. In that respect, not remains.
That question is not really clear to me. Because you have 2 years to form, to merge the SPAC, right? So first the SPAC, the client company in, right? So somebody like Alex Rodriguez, when there's an announcement that he's going to form a SPAC, right? That's going to be put together by his whole legal team, and then it's ready for a client company. The SPACs, as I told you, are going to do only as well as the client companies that they merge into. So,
is it always the company? I mean, is a name like A-Rod going to give clout to something regardless of the company?
I'm sure A-Rod is going to give clout, to choosing a great management team because he comes from professional sports. Okay, he's not going to be looking to do anything but help raise the money to be an attraction. Okay, and just like Billy Bean did a SPAC. This I don't think has been completed with the London Soccer organization, and they're looking at that just for media rights. I mean, there's a ton of money there. So it's all about the client company that's merged in. And again, if DraftKings can go up 444%, it's a good number. All right. And there's about 10 of those that have. So, but just like the reverse merger business, if you're not finding a great management team, and you don't have a long-term purview, it's not a business that you want to be near.
Yeah. How did you guys come up with Zone Capital Partners? What does that mean?
It's a sports thing, right? So that's definitely a sports thing in the zone, right? So
okay.
That's a.
The Capital Partners is just the Capital Partners. That's what you guys.
I mean, well, essentially, Zone's not a broker dealer. Zone is a consulting firm, okay, and we're here to coach companies to get to the next level. And big believer, as you are, in giving back. So I've taken some time off between road shows when we were allowed to have those, or deals being completed, and taught at and served on the economic board of UCLA, where my son is finishing, and made sure.
What do you think about? Sorry to interrupt. What do you think about the whole UCLA switching apparel and taking a loss on this, a lower deal? But not very common, right?
No, that's not very common. But what I think about UCLA is that they're the top public school in the country. So you have UCLA, Michigan, and Berkeley, 20 to 23. So it's a great school. It was a great experience. I had a great experience at NYU as well. Which was a social responsible investing course that I underwrote. And the joke on Wall Street is, well, I was on both coasts because I didn't know which coast my daughter Danielle was going to end up on. She loved New York, but she ended up at U of A. Jason's at UCLA. And
U of A in Tucson?
Yes.
Yeah, that's where my sister went. I was almost there. Loved it.
She loved it.
Yeah. She
loved it. He's a senior at UCLA, just finished his MCATs, and once he said, Dad, I've been in Laguna Niguel, South Orange County, and now I've been in Westwood. It's time to come east. I said, well, have you been watching the news? And all those people that migrated from California to Austin, it's a little cold for them now.
Yeah, that's crazy what's going on in Texas.
Shout out to those people.
Getting killed.
So we met some great people, by the way, as we get into sports, through Mark's show. Garrick Jones. It's just and it doesn't mean you have to do business with these people. You just learn from the athletes, which is what's fun for me. And Garrick's got a wonderful view on life. He's also a big believer, like we are, in giving back. Harry Douglas spent some time with.
Yeah, I was at that event. Very good event.
He's a good guy.
Yeah.
And he said, what, Ira, you missed your calling. You should definitely be in. Next life should be in stand-up comedy. So we had fun with it. And we had fun together. Jerome Williams, I think, has possibly a good concept. And I also like, lastly, I wanted to just give a small plug to what Rachel Perkins is doing, because I think she's going to have a very good business. Rachel's helping the athlete that's going from year 1 to 3 assimilate into the NFL. And she is a tireless worker. Whether we do business with her or not, I'm very proud of what Rachel is doing.
It seems like, there's the appearance of, we have these rookie symposiums and all that, but maybe it's just to show face. That's not going to help you navigate the road. So what she's doing is going to be very instrumental to getting people. I mean, the stuff that she's going to help with is very instrumental with your career ending on the spot after 1 year, or you get into that second and third contract. It's
when they're at that second and third contract, and also thinking in terms of she's got something that could be. I mean, when I look at companies, I kind of get a twinge of I think it's going to be something that gets to the next level, having done this and been involved with companies that have grown to of size. And I think Rachel has something that's eminently scalable. She comes out of creative arts, and there's a huge market. So as she adds, bodies and capital, that's going to take time. It's really not the market that we pursue. But my point was that she's in it for the right reasons. She really wants to help these people. So that's good.
We got another question for you. We're SPAC heavy today. What is the downside of pursuing a SPAC? What a company pursuing a SPAC pays to investor, and how is the downside? What is the downside? What's the worst case scenario if they invest with a SPAC?
No, if they choose to stay in, and they get into a smaller SPAC, right? I mean, the SPAC market is bifurcated. So the bigger companies tend to do better because they're more liquid. So is somebody coming through your roof?
There's a balloon here that's going. It fell off the string and now it's hitting my fan, and I'm hoping it'll just stay instead of keep going. But
okay. So, anyways, there's a bifurcated market in the SPAC business, right?
Yeah.
So it's like anything else. If you're in a liquid company and you go into a blank check company, people are going to flip that paper and the stock's going to go down. That's like.
But doesn't it? My question was.
It should have been SPAC'd in the first place.
But my question is, doesn't it go up initially and then go down?
It doesn't really matter. At the end of the day, you don't have time to breathe and you lose. All right.
You can't get in for
I'm not into playing, heads I win, tails you lose, we say.
Right.
It's a bad game. You don't scale businesses that way, and certainly it's not what we're in it for.
But from the investor point of view, can't they just invest early, take the rise, and then sell quick before the downside, like any stock, or no?
So they have the ability to put it back, at certain periods before the company goes public. Yes.
Yeah. Okay. No, it's good info. I just want to talk. I know we talked about this real quick with the Zone Capital Partners, because as I was writing it in, I misspelled it with the A instead of the O. President Trump, I think, had a big thing on Twitter with that. And you told me, like, what?
It's AL.
Yeah. How bad does that get? You probably have a lot of stories. We said you probably have a lot of stories. Was there one that was really bad? Does it happen to you guys just in?
What are you talking about? The capital
spell. Just put an A instead of an O.
That's it should be an A. Capital AL.
Oh, it is capital. Oh, never mind. That's why I was doing it. I don't know why I wrote. As we were talking about that, then I put it wrong because I had it right the first time.
Okay. You're allowed to make mistakes.
No, I had it right the first time, and that's weird.
I mean, your second one might be a problem for me, but the first one's okay.
Yeah. Well, I think I have it the other way because when I was changing your name right at the end before we went. There we go.
Okay. So we can just talk sports for a little bit now that we did this.
Yeah, of course. I don't know why I had that wrong. I got to make this change real quick on the fly. And now let's Capital Partners. Okay, we're good. We're back. We got this thing. We got a couple comments here.
Well, let's answer the questions, right? That's why we're here.
Yeah.
Right. Or we can talk about the Mets victory.
I gotta get this thing going here so we can get rid of it. It's like a crazy thing going on. Let's get this thing. Sorry for this. This is live television, folks. All right, that was that was an adventure. So my friend Brent, he's got some knowledge about it. And he says, same as you said, you can't create. And he's enjoying. Brent enjoys a good blooper reel. And this whole balloon thing. So we're gonna, if we had the ability to edit it, we would. But we're back.
He's right. Brent is correct.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, Brent is knowledgeable about the market and stuff, so it's good that
Brent is 100% on the money.
All right, let's talk about sports. What was your sport? What was your environment like with sports? You grew up in New York, right?
Right. So we had 1969 was an unbelievable year for us. Right, because the Mets, if you're a Mets fan, the Mets won it all, and they weren't supposed to. They were playing the Orioles, and the Orioles had Frank Robinson,
the Amazons,
and there's a famous quote by Gil Hodges when a reporter comes in. He says, "You know that you have no chance against this team, right? You have absolutely no chance of winning." And Hodges' quote was, "I know that, you know that, but I'm not telling any of the guys in the dugout that." So I need my dog Swoboda, right? That sliding catch.
Right, Ted, what was?
Huh?
Swoboda, you said?
Yeah, so I can call him in. So I could call. It was a brown lab, and they're great dogs for kids. And chocolate lab, and so we call them in from the outfield.
Was his name Ray or Ted? What? Swoboda was a player, right?
Swoboda was a 220. He barely hit above the Mendoza line.
Yeah. What was his first name? Was it Ray?
Was Ron. He came over from the White Sox. So did Agee, Tom Agee, who made the snow cone catch in center field. They also traded for Don Clendenin, who became the MVP of that series with 5 home runs. Al Weiss, who could barely hit a home run. He's a second baseman, hit a home run. But it's pitching that wins championships, which is why I think the Dodgers are going to be good for a while. And the Mets had Kuzman. They had Ryan. They had Seaver and Gary Gentry. So
who's the best pitcher of all time in your eyes?
Okay, of my generation, and the most intimidating was Bob Gibson. Yeah. People were scared to get up against Gibson. Sandy Koufax was the best pitcher because a pitcher and hit. You're talking about control. Seaver was very close. Nolan Ryan was intimidating as well. You put him in that grouping, but I would say that Koufax was the best.
Yeah, we talk about this a lot. Like, what records will never be broken? Baseball has some ones that will never be touched. Nolan Ryan is, no one's ever going to have 7 no-hitters. Again, I don't.
I got to see Ryan play. I mean, there's a lot of things that, the Jets winning that Super Bowl, that's never going to happen again, probably. But
aggravate my Mets and Jets fans. We got a lot of diehard Mets and Jets fans.
So we had season tickets for the Jets, and Namath didn't take things seriously until the Super Bowl year. But that was a watershed event for the league merging, right? So I can still see Matt Snell sweeping on the weak side for the touchdown. And I can then they brought in Unitas. Jimmy Orr's going like this, wide open, no throw. So, good for him. He guaranteed victory. And you know what? We never really saw the best of Namath because he was hurt by the time he got to the NFL, but he was an amazing talent. Go ahead.
Up on the Jets or the Mets. I mean, you look at the Cubs and the Sox had years, so many years, and sometimes it just takes who knows what it is. I mean, Tampa Bay was terrible for so many years, and so
Tampa Bay did it in football this year, and they did it with. And you know what? I thought Kansas City could repeat, but you can't win without an offensive line. They were out coached. Bowles did a phenomenal job on the defensive front, and it was good to see. Brady prepares like nobody else, and it's the same thing in business. They outplayed them. And
I love watching Brady stumble after the parade, like just to see him be human, drunk off his ass.
Right. Well, how about Bruce Arians, right? He's 68 years old. I mean, so that felt good. And then we had season tickets for the Knicks, and that was so this is, going back, just watching Walt Frazier break the press around his back was amazing. The series against the Lakers, they won. Jerry West hits a 59-foot jumper, I think, to take them to Game 7. And then Willis Reed has to be shot up with cortisone and comes out of the tunnel and hits his first 2 jump shots. Chills go down your body. It's amazing.
Yeah.
So, I mean, those are great, great memories, as was just watching Julius Erving carry the ABA, watching him do that dunk from the All-Star game, for the All-Star game, where he literally flew, right? And, dunked the ball. And then, getting to see from talking about Chicago, Jordan play. And I had the privilege of going down an elevator in Madison Square with Craig Gilo. Okay. And I'm thinking to myself, do I ask it? Do I ask it? Because that's the 89 game, right? When Jordan lit him up for win it. There was a point difference. So I asked it. And I said, Craig, what was it? I try to be, compassionate as possible. And what was it like to guard Michael Jordan? And he looks at me, because obviously he'd been asked it ad nauseum.
Yeah.
He said, put it this way, unguardable, but you certainly couldn't have done it. So
not just guarding Jordan, but guarding Jordan when he's in the zone.
Exactly. Jordan was a GOAT, like Brady's the GOAT. But you have to also remember that before that, Bill Russell was the GOAT. 11 rings.
Yeah.
So, these are, there's a lot that you can take from sports into business because of relationships that are formed, because of the discipline that it takes to get to the next level. And to be successful, you have to put in Brady hours. It just doesn't happen any other way.
First one on the field, last one off type of business. We see, especially in Mark's events, that some of these athletes who were, they played professional ball, but they weren't like at the height of the competition, have done really, really well in business, and can have a much better career after they retire than they did playing professional sports, and doing a lot of good too. I particularly like talking to the athletes who are done with their playing days, as opposed to the people who are playing right now and hearing, because you hear all that stuff. You can turn on the news, you can turn on SportsCenter, you can turn on all these programs, and we hear so much about the people playing right now and how it is on the show. But to hear someone who is who has played, they're past it, they have the experience, they can look back and say, this is what it was like, and now I can kind of appreciate it. For me, that's a lot. Is there someone that you would love to hear talk about their athletic days and their sports days that you haven't seen yet? Who would that be?
On his show?
Well, anywhere. It could be just, let's say, come on here, or on his show, or anywhere, speaking at an event.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know that he can get Brady, but obviously, Brady, LeBron, those are almost impossible names to get.
Yeah.
Kyrie Irving, amazing player.
Interesting guy.
Amazing player, though. He's an amazing player. I mean,
I'll take the field, though. I'm not going to take the Nets. Are you taking the Nets to win?
There's no way. You can't win with 3 players.
Yeah.
And especially one that, dribbles. Right. So, no, I think the Lakers, again, they're a team.
Yeah.
So, but what I like about Mark's forum or the thesis is that everybody gives back. And on April 22nd, Zone Capital is sponsoring a give back event for charity. Christopher Hunt.
Yeah, we're going to have Chris on and to talk a lot about that event as we get closer. But
that'd be great. I mean, that's give back to charity. And, there's a lot of people that can be put through college that can't afford college, which is a great give back. And there's going to be people from Wall Street. There'll be athletes there. And we're very proud of that. And Chris has done a fantastic job of, taking the ball and running with that. And it's going to be a great event. It's a virtual event. And so that's going to be fun.
What was the last live event you went to?
I mean, well, the Roth conference, which is the big one, is around the corner from, my house in Dana Point. It's the Ritz-Carlton. But, nobody's gone to live events, right? This is all about Zoom and the relationships that you have in place. And, I don't want to burst anybody's bubble, but you could be looking at another year. It's probably better for Wall Street because once everybody's back, the unemployment numbers came out today, and they were bad in Canada. They were bad here. So at some point, reality kicks in, is my point. But COVID's not over. And there's not enough distribution, no matter what somebody's telling me. Already have been taught to discount, those situations. And so, you're looking at probably the end of the year to get rid of the prospect of mutations, possibly early October, hopefully.
Yeah,
right?
We don't know. That's the thing. We don't know.
Yeah, nobody knows with that. Yeah. So
let's talk about that last night. Someone said
we wanted this to be a live event out of Miami, and I told Chris, I mean, it's just not something.
Not worth it. It's not worth it for even from a perception point of view. It's not a good.
Right. It's not a good PR. You just can't do it. Right, when there's been whatever the number of deaths have occurred, you can't have a live event. But the point is, the point of giving money back to charity, and this one group that is going to be involved with us helps kids in sports.
What's the name of that company? I've met those guys in the event also.
Yeah, it's Kids for Sports,
Yeah.
right?
Organization.
It's a great group, and we spoke with them yesterday, and one of the partners there gave me an interesting statistic and said, "You know what, these underprivileged children, why don't you? You're a numbers guy. Why don't you give me a number as to what it takes to finance just the little leagues across the country so these kids can actually play?" The number's $600 million. It's that tough a time right now.
And that's the company they provide like 150, the first $150, or
we're going to be releasing information together. So
yeah,
that's proprietary, but they're a great group. So, and Chris has got some other charities that he's put together, and it's going to be quite a diverse group that's put together.
Yeah, we talked about that on a couple other shows, and one of the things I love about a charity like that is I know where that money's going. Right? We talked to the National Pancreas Foundation, and I think like 92 cents out of every dollar they get goes back into the programs that they get. So to know that I'm going to give money and it can directly help this city, boost up their little league program or their soccer program, it's a good feeling from you, and it makes you want to give more and help them more, because I'm not just giving money to someone and like I don't know what they're going to do with it.
Right, and it's this is something that organically grows, right? So as you go out year 1, year 2, year 3, you have target goals of what goes back to charity, and you can't predict those, but you put stretch goals out there, and see how close you can get to that. So that goes over. We've gone over Mets, Jets, Knicks, Super Bowl.
Who has the best chance of making a how about a championship between all of the? Is it the Mets, the Knicks, the Jets, or the Rangers, or Giants?
None of those.
But if you had to put your money
on not for a long time.
The next 5 years, who's going to get the furthest along?
Well, I'm not watching the Rangers as closely as I used to.
Yeah.
But the Knicks and the Jets, it's almost like absentee ownership. So I would think the Giants might have a better shot out of that group, but we'll see.
You got to have everything going. Like, think about Theo Epstein. He goes to a place, and all of a sudden, there's just so many factors that have to go into having a successful organization. The owner's got to be able to spend money. You got to have the right GM who's there. Then you got to have the right coach and the right players, and they all got to happen at the same time. And it's very cyclical with the draft and free agency.
Well, if the Jets would look at this as a 3 to 4 year, just like building a business, right? Yeah. The 3 to 4, they've got a good coach now. They look at it as a 3 to 4 year process, and they start putting pieces. I don't think it's really Darnold's fault.
I don't either.
So you draft another rookie, and now you're going to take 2 steps back.
Yeah.
Look what Cleveland did. I mean, they're very close. They're very close.
I draft a Bama receiver if I'm the Jets, and I make that defense try and guard him.
I think I'd get an offensive tackle. Yeah. So that
it's going to be picked.
There's an old axiom, Matt, that a quarterback can't throw from his back. So from being on his back. So
if you're Mahomes, you could throw as you're like this, like almost on your back.
He's amazing.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, right?
Mahomes is amazing, but he was still running for his life, and was hurt and had no offensive line. The Tampa Bay was stacked on defense. Also called the right plays. it was amazing what they did. So I think it's going back to the markets. We have another year left. I mean, it's been a 10-year plus bull market. They don't last forever. Since there's so much money floating around and you can't make money in bonds, you're going to have you should have another good year for offerings, because it's just what crosses the tape. You're seeing offering after offering after offering, and certain segments are going to outperform anything online, anything e-gaming. Again, this company Roblox, it's about to be public, and we don't own stock in it. I just think, that it's anytime you have 13-year-olds that are, doing this, playing games back and forth, and the company has significant earnings, you have a shot at a.
What do you think about this NBA Top Shot? Are you familiar with the selling of the, rights to an actual play, a highlight? It's like, it sounds like it's basically a stock, because you don't really own it; you just own part of it.
So what is it? It's a fractional ownership?
Yeah, something like that. It's NFT and also all that whole market.
I'd rather be in, I'm an equities player, so I'd rather own, a stock that's a growth stock.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm going to lose a coffee bet with a friend of mine out here because I bet and didn't own the stock on Microsoft because they own the cloud. But, Microsoft's at umpteen billion market cap, and his pick was Delta right after Buffett sold, right? And Delta's actually, my son actually went up and picked up some shares, but Delta's at 46. So the bet there is if the country returns to normalcy, it'll do well.
Yeah. We got a couple more questions on the SPAC. I don't know who it's from. I'm going to encourage them to shoot you an email if they want to continue that conversation. It's Ira Miller at Zone Capital with an A partners.com. We're going to do some rapid fire here to close out the show and ask you just, some random sports questions and get some answers from you. I noticed Wayne Gretzky behind you, and when I first talked to you with that background, I completely forgot that he even played for the Rangers. I was remembering Oilers and
Kings. We won a cup.
Yeah.
The guy next to him was the reason why.
Yeah. Is he? So who's on your Mount Rushmore of sports? I want to hear who you think are, or who your four favorites are. Any sport.
For hockey, it has to be Gretzky.
But you got to pick four, so you got to leave some sports out, or you can have two hockey.
No, you'd have to pick Gretzky. You'd have to pick Jordan.
All right.
Okay. For baseball, would have to be Ruth.
Okay.
Okay, and that's hot. So we've now done hockey. Have we done
football?
You have football. Jim Brown.
Jim Brown. Okay. Who's your four favorite athletes of all time, regardless of sport?
Four favorite.
Yeah, so you don't have to be the best, just the people you like the most.
I love to watch Julius Erving in college. I love to watch Pete Maravich play.
Yeah.
He was amazing.
Yeah.
Again, these are basketball players, but I love the Montana catch to Dwight to Clark. I thought Lynn Swann's catch was amazing.
Yeah. We used to play the Super Bowl, every Super Bowl. ESPN used to play every Super Bowl the day of, and you could watch it. And now they have all this other.
The greatest Super Bowl, I think, was the one the Eagles won.
Just recently?
Yeah, what's been better than that? That was a great. I mean, that actually was close and a very good game.
They just traded Wentz for like 2 draft picks.
They should have.
Yeah.
To whom?
They got more before. They traded to the Colts, so I assume
that's the right place to trade him, because Wentz doesn't do well with any kind of competition, and he's got an offensive line there, and he's got a chance to rebuild. Get his confidence back.
What's your favorite sports memory of being actually at an event, non-championship?
First time I saw Earl Monroe play at the Garden was amazing.
Yeah.
And it's right up there with seeing Oscar Robertson. It's certainly a better memory than the Van Arsdale brothers, but they were good too.
Does Russ Westbrook doesn't he get kind of under the radar for averaging a triple-double during the year? It's crazy to me. The guy averages a triple-double.
Well, here's what's crazy. Why can't he stay on one team?
I get it, but it's an incredible feat.
No, and he's a UCLA, he's a UCLA grad, so he's an incredibly talented athlete. But it's a team sport.
Well, I think him, I think Kyrie, I think Harden I think those are people who will never win a championship unless
Kyrie's already won a championship.
Who?
Kyrie won a championship.
I mean another one, not without LeBron.
This team's not going to win a championship, but LeBron's a coach on the field.
Yeah.
LeBron's another Brady. And LeBron, as long as Davis stays healthy, Davis he's a player.
Yeah.
He's almost 7 foot tall and can drain threes. And it's amazing to watch them play.
My wife's a Philly girl, and we were watching the Lakers-Sixers like a couple weeks ago, and the Sixers were up by like 20, and the Lakers come back to take the lead, and then the Sixers win. But she's asking me about Davis and talking about his eyebrows, and I'm like, yeah, he's the brow. He does that on purpose. And she's like, he does that on purpose? Like he's got the he's the brow
player, and so's Giannis. Giannis is a freak.
Giannis, yeah. I'm kind of rooting for Giannis. Because remember when Virginia lost in the first round of the NCAA and they came back and won it the next year? That's kind of how I want to see Milwaukee do it. They got embarrassed.
There's enough talent around there.
Yeah.
Just like it's just, and again, I'm an East Coast person, but the East, the Sixers don't get there every year. Right, they're just a little soft. The team that has a chance, I believe, in the next 2 years should be Boston. Well coached, and if they get a couple players around,
get them back.
They've
been having some trouble lately with, I think, COVID or injuries or something.
Right, but they've got a great coach and they've got some good players, and they get a couple players underneath. That's going to be a very good team.
Yeah. Well, a couple more questions. Do you have a favorite sports movie?
Favorite sports movie? I think Bull Durham was.
That's a great one.
Probably one of the better ones.
It's got a little bit of everything, right? Some romance, some comedy, a little bit of everything for there. It's a great sports movie. What's your favorite piece of, because I see you got some nice photos back there. What's your favorite piece of memorabilia, and what's your most valuable piece of memorabilia?
Yeah, so my favorite is I've got the entire Met outfield. And so that's Swoboda, Cleon Jones, and in the middle, AG. And they're all, signed off, right? And
is that on a ball or a photo?
Swoboda. No, it's not. There's only so many memorabilia pieces I can put in the house. All right, but I've got McEnroe around the corner, who is one of my had the softest hands in the net. By the way, it was amazing. Douglaston, Queens. But Swoboda writes to me. He said, "You know what, Ira? I really would appreciate it if you named your son instead of your dog after me." So that's great. I've got Bobby Orr. Okay, when he made that famous dive, Bobby Orr, probably one of the greatest next to Gretzky hockey players of all time. I've got.
Was Orr the one who played in his 60s in that league? Who was the one who just? It was in the last 5 years. He played in his 60s, or
You're talking about Gordie Howe?
was it Howe? That was it.
Yeah, he's good. Definitely was good. I have Frazier guarding Pistol Pete, who was amazing. I have Frazier scooping underneath Chamberlain for a basket, so that's fun. So those are the extent of it.
Well, last question. We always ask people, you can pick one person. They have to be living. You can't be related to them. You get 24 hours to spend with them. Who is it, and what are you guys doing? And I say that because I'm going to make it happen for one of my guests.
I would say Bill Bradley.
Okay.
Still living. Right? Bill Bradley is an amazing.
He was our senator for many years.
Well, the other thing is, when I moved out here. So my dad went to Yale. The gentleman that moved me out here went to Princeton. I have a close friend from Princeton, and Dollar Bill was a great player. And in the interviews, nobody understood him, but he'd be fun. I think
he's older now. What are you going to do with him?
I think Jerry Seinfeld would be fun.
Yeah, of course.
So I think
Show.
those two. He's amazing.
Yeah.
So those two are amazing talents.
Yeah, you only get one. We're going to give you one. We're going to go with Bill Bradley. That's the official answer.
Okay, we'll go with Bill Bradley.
I'll let you know when we get that set up for you. Anyway, Ira, great to chat with you. We could talk all day about sports and markets. You gave some great information, I hope, for the audience here, and appreciate you coming on. We're looking forward to your event in April, which Chris and I will have another show, and we'll promote that event. It's going to be a great event for a great cause. Tell everybody how they can get in touch with you, what they should get in touch with you for, how they can help, who you're helping these days, and we'll close on that.
Yeah, I mean, they can, send an email or link in with me under Ira W. Miller, and, we'll get back to them. And, this is Zoom world, so we'll be glad to, spend time.
Yeah.
And see how we can help these companies, get to the next level. Okay.
Sounds good. So
thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Appreciate your time today. That's the Wolff Den presented by Win Again Academy. We have some great guests next week, so stay tuned for the announcement and the plug. And have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you guys soon.